My wife said, "Every girl has dating apps on her phone, it doesn't mean anything." But when I caught her with another man, I filed for divorce the very next morning and walked away without regret. My name is Jason, I'm 29, and I live in Florida. If you had met me a year ago, you would have probably thought I was a man who had everything going for him. I had a stable career that paid me well, a salary that allowed me to enjoy a comfortable life without constantly worrying about finances. I bought myself a house in a peaceful neighborhood, a place that felt like my sanctuary, somewhere I could truly call home. On top of that, I drove a car that I was proud of, nothing flashy or over the top, but it was mine, paid off with my own hard work. But more than any of that, the thing that made me believe I was living a dream was my wife, Emily. She was 26, beautiful, energetic, and full of charm. From the very first day we met, she had this spark about her that drew me in. She was the kind of person who could walk into a room and instantly capture everyone's attention. But somehow, I was the one she chose to spend her life with. For years, I believed that was enough. I believed we were a team, partners, building a future together. Life in Florida felt good. I loved coming home after a long day of work, walking through the front door, and seeing her smile. It was those little moments that made everything worth it. The quiet dinners, the weekend drives, the feeling that we were creating memories that would last forever. I didn't think I needed anything more. But life has a way of showing you the truth when you least expect it. One evening, Emily left her phone on the kitchen counter while she went upstairs. Normally, I would never even think of touching it. I trusted her completely. I wasn't the kind of man who needed to check my wife's phone for reassurance. But that night, something inside me shifted. A strange feeling came over me, a gut instinct that whispered something was off. Against my better judgment, I picked it up. What I saw on that screen sent a cold wave through my chest. Dating apps. Not just one or two, several of them, boldly sitting right there on her home screen as if they belonged. My hands shook as I opened one of them, and the reality hit even harder. Conversations, flirty messages, exchanges that left no room for doubt. She wasn't just scrolling out of boredom or playing around. She was talking to other men. She was engaging with them in a way that crossed every line of loyalty and respect. My heart pounded as I waited for her to come back downstairs. When she did, I confronted her right away. My voice was uneven, my hands trembling as I asked her to explain. And that's when she looked at me with a calm expression and said the words that are still burned into my memory. "Jason, every girl has dating apps on her phone. It's normal. It doesn't mean anything. You're overreacting." I just stood there, staring at her. She said it so casually, as if she was explaining why someone keeps old clothes in the closet or extra bottles of water in the fridge. She wanted me to believe it was harmless, that I was blowing things out of proportion. But deep inside, I knew better. My instincts screamed that this wasn't just a normal thing. That night, I couldn't sleep. I tossed and turned, trying to convince myself that maybe I was reading too much into it. Maybe she was right. Maybe it wasn't what it looked like. But my heart wouldn't let it go. Something about the way she said those words, so cold, so unbothered, told me everything I needed to know. And the truth, whether I wanted to accept it or not, was waiting just around the corner. The next day, I woke up with a heavy feeling in my chest. My mind was foggy from a night of restless sleep, but my thoughts were crystal clear about one thing. Something between Emily and me was broken. Still, I wanted to give her the benefit of the doubt, at least one more chance to prove that maybe, just maybe, I had overreacted. So I went to work as usual, buried myself in my projects, and tried to shake off the weight pressing down on me. But no matter how many emails I answered or calls I took, I couldn't quiet the voice in my head that kept repeating her words. Asterisk, every girl has dating apps on her phone. By the afternoon, I decided to do something out of routine. Instead of working late like I normally did, I packed up a little early. My plan was simple. Pick up dinner, come home, and try to talk things through with Emily calmly. I thought maybe if we sat down without anger, without accusations, she would open up to me and explain herself. I wanted to believe that she still loved me enough to be honest. But life doesn't always follow the script you hope for. On my way back, I passed by a restaurant not far from our neighborhood. I don't know what made me slow down, but as I glanced toward the outdoor patio, my heart nearly stopped. There she was, Emily, sitting at a table with a man I had never seen before. They were leaning in close to each other, laughing like they shared a private joke, her hand resting on his arm as if it belonged there. It wasn't just casual. It was intimate. It was the kind of connection that leaves no doubt about what's really going on. I sat in my car, watching for a moment that felt like a lifetime. The world around me faded. The Florida sun was still shining, cars were still passing by, people were still walking down the sidewalk, but for me, everything had gone silent. All I could hear was the sound of my own heart breaking. I wanted to storm out, to confront them right there in front of everyone, to demand an explanation. But instead, something inside me shifted. I realized that no words, no excuse, no apology could undo what I was seeing with my own eyes. She had chosen to be somewhere else with someone else, when she should have been home with me, and that spoke louder than anything she could ever say. So I drove away, quietly, without making a scene, and for the first time in months, I felt a strange sense of clarity. The pain was still sharp, but beneath it was a firm resolve. I had spent years building a life in Florida that I could be proud of. My career, my house, my car, my stability. And I had welcomed Emily into that life with all the love I could offer. But she didn't value it. She didn't value me. And if that was the case, then I deserved better. That night, I slept on the couch, not because we were fighting. Emily didn't even know that I had seen her, but because I needed distance. I needed space to breathe and to think. By morning, my mind was made up. I contacted a lawyer, filed for divorce, and began the process of untangling myself from a marriage that had already ended in her heart. When Emily found out, she was shocked. She tried to spin the story, claiming the man was just a friend, that I was overreacting, that I was throwing away something beautiful over a misunderstanding. But this time, I didn't even bother to argue. I let the silence speak for me, because silence, paired with divorce papers, carries a weight that no amount of excuses can lighten. Walking away wasn't easy, but it was necessary. I still had my job, my house, my car, and most importantly, my self-respect. Emily lost something that day that she could never get back. The trust, the love, and the future we could have had together. And as painful as it was, I learned something powerful. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself is to walk away from someone who doesn't see your worth. Like and subscribe for more stories of betrayal, strength, and fresh starts.